If you were a kid in the late 90s or early 2000s, you probably remember Dexter's laboratory, the boy genius with a secret lab, his annoying sister Dee Dee, and a parade of wild inventions gone wrong. The show was funny, fast, and just a little bit weird, with enough science fiction to make you wonder what might be hiding in your own basement. But there's one story that's never been shown on TV, a story that's whispered about in lost media circles and late-night forums. They call it Experiment X-13. I first heard about it from a friend who was obsessed with old cartoons and the mysteries behind them. He told me that Experiment X-13 was a real episode, created during the show's original run, but pulled before it ever aired. According to the legend, the episode was found on a backup tape in a box of production reels, labeled only with a date and the words, "Do not screen." Only a handful of people have ever seen it, and those who have say it's nothing like the rest of the series. The episode supposedly starts like any other. Dexter is in his lab, working on a new invention. The animation is a little rougher than usual, the colors slightly off, but at first, it just feels like an early draft. Dexter is hunched over his workbench, scribbling equations and muttering to himself. He's building something he calls Experiment X-13, a project so secret that even Dee Dee doesn't know about it. As the episode goes on, things start to get strange. Dexter becomes more and more obsessed with his experiment, refusing to eat or sleep. The lab grows darker, the machines louder, and the familiar background music is replaced by a low, unsettling hum. Dee Dee tries to get his attention, but Dexter snaps at her, his eyes wide and frantic. He locks himself in the lab, ignoring his family, his friends, even his beloved computer. Eventually, Dexter finishes the experiment, a small black box covered in wires and blinking lights. He stares at it for a long time, his face reflected in the polished surface. Then he flips a switch, and the room is plunged into darkness. The screen flickers with static, and for a moment you can see Dexter's face, pale and terrified, illuminated by the glow of the box. The box begins to hum, louder and louder, until it drowns out everything else. The walls of the lab start to melt and warp, the colors bleeding together in a surreal, nightmarish swirl. Dexter tries to turn off the machine, but the switch won't budge. He calls for Dee Dee, but his voice is lost in the noise. The last thing you see is Dexter's hand reaching for the box, his fingers trembling, before the screen cuts to black. After that, the screen stays black for a few seconds, long enough to make you wonder if the episode is over. But then, the static returns, flickering in and out, and the camera slowly pans through the ruined lab. Everything is twisted and wrong. The machines are warped, the walls are covered in strange symbols, and the colors are all washed out, like an old photograph left in the sun. Dexter is nowhere to be seen. The point of view drifts through the lab, as if searching for something. In the background, you can hear faint whispers, Dexter's voice, Dee Dee's laughter, even the sound of their mom calling for dinner. But the voices are distorted, echoing as if they're coming from far away or through a broken radio. The camera lingers on the black box, which is now cracked open, leaking a thick, dark smoke that seems to move on its own. Suddenly, the scene shifts. You see Dexter, but he's changed. His eyes are wide and glassy, and his hair is a mess. He's sitting in the corner of the lab, hugging his knees, rocking back and forth. He keeps repeating the same phrase over and over. I shouldn't have turned it on. I shouldn't have turned it on. Dee Dee appears in the doorway, but she doesn't look like herself. Her face is blurred, her movements jerky, and her voice is just a high-pitched whine layered over the static. Dexter tries to warn her, but she doesn't seem to hear him. She walks straight to the black box, her hands reaching out as if she's in a trance. The smoke wraps around her fingers, and for a moment, her eyes glow with a strange, unnatural light. The screen flickers, and you catch glimpses of other scenes. Dexter's parents searching the house, the family dog barking at the basement door, the lab filling with shadows that move on their own. The episode lingers on these images, the soundtrack, nothing but the hum of the box and the distorted voices. Some people say that if you listen closely, you can hear your own name whispered in the static, or see your reflection in the glass of the black box. Others claim that the episode ends with a single frame of Dexter's face, staring straight at the viewer, his eyes pleading for help. I tried to find proof of Experiment X-13, a clip, a screenshot, anything, but every time I got close, the trail went cold. Lost media forums are filled with people searching for the episode, trading stories and theories, but no one has ever produced a full recording. Some claim to have found old tapes at garage sales or in studio archives, but the footage is always corrupted, the audio warped and filled with static. I kept searching, hoping to find someone who could confirm the story, or at least explain where it came from. I messaged old animators, scoured fan forums, and even reached out to people who claimed to have worked on Dexter's lab in the early days. Most never replied, or just laughed off my questions. But one night, I got an anonymous email. The subject line was blank, and the message was short. Don't look for it. Some experiments are better left unfinished. Attached was a single image, a blurry screenshot of Dexter in the ruined lab, his face half lit by the glow of the black box. The quality was terrible, but I recognized the scene from the stories. In the background, the walls seemed to pulse and shift, and if you looked closely, you could just make out the outline of Dee Dee, her face blurred and her eyes glowing faintly. I stared at the image for a long time, feeling a chill run down my spine. Was it real, or just a clever fake? I couldn't tell, but I saved it anyway. After that, the dreams started. I'd find myself wandering through Dexter's lab, the machines silent and broken, the air thick with smoke. I'd hear the hum of the black box, growing louder and louder, until it drowned out everything else. Sometimes I'd see Dexter in the corner, rocking back and forth, his eyes wide with fear. Other times, I'd see Dee Dee standing by the box, her hands reaching out, her face lost in the shadows. I'd wake up sweating, the sound of static still ringing in my ears. I stopped searching for the episode after that. Every time I thought about it, I'd feel a wave of unease, as if something was warning me to leave it alone. But the story kept spreading. More people posted about their own experiences, strange dreams, corrupted files, TVs turning on by themselves late at night, always to a screen filled with static and the faint hum of a machine. Some fans started to believe that Experiment X-13 wasn't just a lost episode, but a kind of curse, a story that infects anyone who hears about it, making them see things that aren't there, dream things they can't explain. Others said it was a metaphor for the dangers of unchecked curiosity, a way for the show's creators to explore the darker side of invention. But no one could explain the details that kept cropping up. the static, the black box, the sense that something was watching from the shadows. Now, whenever I see an old VHS tape or a rerun of Dexter's Lab, I feel a little uneasy. I remember the stories, the image in that email, the dreams that still haunt me. And I wonder if the episode is still out there, waiting for someone new to find it. I wish I could say the nightmares faded, that the story of Experiment X-13 eventually became just another creepy internet rumor. But the truth is, it's always there, lurking in the back of my mind. Sometimes when I'm alone in a quiet room, I'll hear the faint hum of a machine, or the echo of Dexter's voice muttering equations to himself. I'll turn on the TV late at night and find the screen flickering, and for a split second, I'll see the lab, ruined and empty, with the black box glowing in the center. I've learned to live with it, in a way. I don't talk about the episode anymore, and I avoid anything to do with lost media, but every so often someone will bring it up, a friend, a stranger online, even a random post on social media. The details are always the same: the lost episode, the static, the black box, the sense that something is watching from the shadows. And every time, I feel that old fear creeping back in, cold and sharp as the sound of a machine powering up in the dark. Some people say the episode is still out there, hidden on an old VHS tape in someone's attic, or buried deep in the archives of a forgotten server. Others believe it's just a story, a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked curiosity and the power of secrets. But those of us who've seen the images, who've heard the hum in the dark, know better. We know that some stories have a way of sticking with you, of changing the way you see the world. Now, whenever I see Dexter on TV, I hesitate before watching. I remember the ruined lab, the black box, the way Dexter's eyes seem to plead for help. I wonder if the episode is still waiting for someone new to find it, someone new to carry the story forward. And I wonder if somewhere out there, Dexter is still trapped in that lab, reaching for a switch he can never turn off. So if you ever hear about Experiment X-13, or find yourself tempted to search for lost episodes late at night, remember my story. Some things are better left lost, some episodes are better left unwatched, and some inventions, no matter how curious you are better left unfinished. Because once you've heard the hum, once you've seen those pleading eyes in the dark, you'll never look at Dexter's laboratory or your own curiosity the same way again. I still get messages from people who stumble across the legend for the first time. They always start the same way: curiosity, a little skepticism, maybe even a joke about how a cartoon could be so unsettling. But after a while, the tone changes. They ask if I've ever really seen the episode, if the dreams ever stop, if the feeling of being watched ever goes away. I never know what to tell them. I want to say it's all just a story, that it can't hurt you if you don't believe in it. But I know better. Sometimes I wonder if the episode is more than just a lost piece of animation. Maybe it's a kind of test, a way to see who's willing to look too closely, to dig too deep. Maybe it's a warning, a reminder that some things are meant to stay hidden. Or maybe it's just a story that got out of control, spreading from one person to the next, growing darker and more twisted with every retelling. But every so often I'll hear from someone who claims they've found a copy, an old tape, a corrupted file, a link that only works once before disappearing forever. They always say the same thing: the episode is worse than they imagined. The colors are wrong, the sounds are distorted, and Dexter's eyes haunt their dreams for weeks afterward. Some say they can't watch Dexter's Lab anymore, that the theme song makes them uneasy. Others say they hear a faint hum when they turn off the TV at night. I try not to think about it too much. I keep my lights on, my curtains closed, and my TV unplugged when I'm not using it. I avoid lost media forums, and I don't go looking for stories about cursed episodes. But the legend of Experiment X-13 is always there, waiting in the background, a shadow at the edge of my vision. If you're reading this, maybe you're curious too. Maybe you think it's just a story, something to laugh about with your friends. But if you ever find yourself alone at night, with the sound of a machine humming in your ears and the feeling that someone is watching you from the dark, remember what I've told you. Some episodes are better left lost. Some stories are better left untold. And if you ever see Dexter sitting alone in a ruined lab, his eyes wide and pleading, reaching for a black box that never turns off, turn off the TV. Walk away. Don't look back. Because in Experiment X-13, the real nightmare isn't what you see on the screen. It's what follows you when the episode ends. I wish I could say there's a way to break the spell, to shake off the feeling that Experiment X-13 leaves behind. But the truth is, once you know the story, it's hard to forget. It lingers in the quiet moments, in the flicker of a screen, in the uneasy silence that settles just before you fall asleep. I've learned to live with it, to keep my distance from old cartoons and lost media. But the memory is always there, waiting. Sometimes I'll catch myself glancing at the TV, half expecting to see Dexter's eyes staring back at me from the static. Other times, I'll hear a faint hum, like the one that filled the background of that episode, and I'll freeze, heart pounding, until I convince myself it's just the refrigerator or the pipes in the wall. But deep down, I know better. I know that some stories have a way of reaching out, of finding you no matter how far you run. I've talked to others who feel the same. Some have tried to track down the episode, convinced that if they can just see it for themselves, the mystery will finally make sense. But every time, the trail goes cold. The files are corrupted. The tapes are blank. The links disappear as soon as you click them. It's as if the episode doesn't want to be found. Or maybe, as if it's waiting for the right person to find it. So if you ever hear about Experiment X-13, or if you find yourself drawn to stories about lost episodes and hidden secrets, remember this: curiosity can be dangerous. Some things are better left alone, no matter how tempting they seem. And if you ever see a flash of static and a pair of wide, pleading eyes in the corner of your screen, don't look too closely. Don't listen to the hum. Don't try to remember the details, because some episodes aren't just stories. Some episodes are warnings, and some nightmares, once they find you, never really let you go. So turn off the TV, close your laptop, and let the story fade. Trust me, there are some secrets you don't want to uncover, and Experiment X-13 is one of them.